failures. That's never a good sign.
What's happening? I don't have power. Can you hear me?
You know when you tell me to go steady, I'm not going to go steady.
Yeah.
Go on.
Get it, girl. Get it.
Get in there, Lewis. Fantastic weekend all round. Really, really solid.
Great job, everyone. What a weekend.
Welcome to the Slamming Gears, Shifting Beers podcast. I'm John.
That long, awkward silence is because Vince is not here. I'm Braden.
You know, something felt off there. Usually there's like an annoying kind of voice that pierces my eardrum in that 10 seconds-ish.
Is it a voice or is it just a sound?
It's
really?
it's an annoying high-pitched sound that just really needles me. It's pretty bad.
It's worse when you are looking at the sound coming out, because what you see, you expect B-list, maybe C-list, tier actor. Expect his voice, Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti, yeah.
Exactly who Vince looks like, but it's you don't hear his voice. His voice is great. Big Fat Liar, all those commercials he saw during the Super Bowl he was doing for Volkswagen.
Yep.
Great dude, Paul Giamatti. Vince, not so much.
No. Vince is like staring into the sun. They tell you not to look at it, but sometimes you just can't steer your eyes and you just have to.
Do not look directly into it, but yes, it's just something about it. Just it draws your eye in, whether for I was going to say for better or for worse, but it's
just for worse, yeah.
It's all for worse.
Sears your corneas and just kind of you're left wondering, why did I do that? And yeah. No, Vince is not here. On top of this, whose idea was it to podcast today at this time? Was it
we have a group chat, you, me, and our third co-star,
our deposed,
co-host.
yeah.
And I'll pull it up. I'll pull up the read receipts for you, and I'll let the world know. So Vince and John, I texted y'all yesterday.
Okay.
What time? I will read it word for word. Just so we don't leave anything
posterity.
Out there.
This is for the record, by the way.
Interpretation.
Yeah.
I said, when we finna pod next week. John, you responded, I could do Sunday night or Monday. I said, great, that works for me.
Yep.
Vince confirmed that he can do it Sunday, 3/28, Sunday night. Yep. It's currently 7:36 p.m. mine and Vince's time. So it is Sunday night.
For you guys, yes, it is very much Sunday night.
The best part was we reconfirmed earlier this afternoon, not even 5 hours ago.
Yes.
I said, what time do we specifically want to pod tonight? Vince said, or I said I could do 2 hours from now. John confirmed I can do 2-ish hours from now. And Vince said, maybe like 6 p.m. for us. That'll work for me. I said, great.
Which would be around 2 hours from that period in time.
Which would be on 2 hours from 2:46, which would have been 5:46. Originally, 6 p.m. was our recording time.
Right.
So I was like, great, awesome. Coming back from Austin anyway. So I'll be home around that time. Perfect.
I was eating lunch with friends. So I made sure to get back here in time.
Yes. John finished his plans. I finished my plans. Vince texts at 5:11 p.m. Make it 7 p.m. today, boys. I called him a cuck. John, you sent him the Happy Gilmore thumbs down.
Yeah.
And he was like, fuck it. Might as well just make it Monday. I've been drinking all day. And I said, nope. No. We make plans. So long story short, Vince is not here because he's an irresponsible human being.
This is true.
Even though we all decided on a day and a time, set it in stone. You heard it here. Yep. I could show you the read receipts, but it's not going to look well on camera. But so we're just two for tonight.
You left out the best part, though, I will say.
I'm sorry, what is that?
It was I sent the Peter Griffin whoa gif.
Oh yeah.
And then with no spaces in between, I wrote, "Boy, you better get your ass on this podcast before I beat your motherfucking ass."
Yep. Yes.
And even with those threats of bodily harm, Vince is not here with us today.
Nope.
So I guess we're just gonna have to soldier on.
If it's worth, we're gonna soldier on. If it's worth anything, he did say just shit on me the whole time, then boys. So we have Vince's consent. We are PC. It is 2021. We do have his consent to shit on him. So
yep,
you will get a reaming of this whole podcast, my friend.
And that is why this is the longest intro.
Yes, sir. It's been almost 6 minutes of us just ragging on Vince to start the podcast. Hey, welcome back. If you are here for the first time, we do talk about Formula One eventually, so bear with us here.
It might take a minute, but we do eventually talk Formula One on this podcast.
We get there, I promise.
And speaking of Formula One, what a race. What a weekend.
We had a race today.
We had a race today. And I stood, I don't know about you, but while I'm watching, I know you were on the go and you were kind of spotty internet.
Yeah, that kind of sucked.
But for the last 10 laps of that race, I was standing in front of my television, literally standing, not even on the edge of my seat. I was out of my seat, just watching.
I did get to see the last 10 laps, mostly uninterrupted. We did have an impromptu trip to go to Austin to just kind of spend half the day up in Austin today. So my one stipulation was, all right, we got to leave it. If we're leaving, it takes me about 2 hours to get there. We leave right as the race starts so I can watch the whole race on the way up there so I don't miss any of it. I ended up missing about a third of it.
Well,
because my internet went out. I missed Hamilton overtaking Verstappen. I missed that.
Okay. That was pit strategy.
I missed whatever happened to Vettel and Gasly to make them finish towards the end of the order. And I missed like lap 13 to 19, and I missed 43 or like 34 to 43.
Right. Well, I will say that Gasly had a really good shot of this being a super solid weekend for him. And then at the beginning of the race, he got spun around, and
I saw that.
And then he just never really recovered from that. He just never really made up any places. He just kind of hung out in the back the rest of the race.
Poor Gasly.
Yeah, it was kind of a rough day for Gasly. I will say, though, on the subject of AlphaTauri, Yuki Tsunoda scored points today. 9th place.
He did. 65th driver in Formula One history to score points on his F1 debut.
And the first Japanese driver to score points on his debut.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you.
Saw that stat today. So look at us. We're actually, with Vince not here, it's really easy to convey clear, concise thoughts and facts.
We've got some weight to the facts and the statements that we make on this podcast.
We're actually a factual podcast now. This
Holy guacamole! We're going to lose half of our viewership.
You might even call this journalism.
Oh my god! I don't know if I go that far.
Something I never thought we would even get close to the realm of.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
we need to change that.
Let's continue on that. I like talking about Yuki because Yuki looks like a fucking star.
He looks really good.
I'm gonna enjoy watching a lot of Yuki Tsunoda this year. Let me pull up. I live tweeted qualifying. I didn't live tweet race, but I live tweeted qualifying on our Twitter here at Slammin' Gears F1. If you don't already follow us on Twitter, follow
Shameless
us on Twitter.
plug.
Getting that Twitter plug in early.
Yeah, right on. There we go. Efficient too.
I literally said that Yuki fella and the AlphaTauri look fucking quick.
They do, though. That is a fast Formula One car. It is just fast. Like it's
AlphaTauri is good.
It's
it's
good car.
It's fast. And I retweeted. There's a kind of a smaller known F1 journalist, but I've been following since we've had this Twitter handle. Rob Watts at Rob Watts F1. Serious question: which F1 driver will you be rooting for this season, and why is it Yuki Tsunoda?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with it though. I mean, he qualified extremely well considering it's his first Formula 1 qualifying session ever.
Take it for what it's worth, but he split Mercedes and Verstappen in Q2 to go second fastest. At one part in Q2. That wasn't like a fluke. Mick Schumacher leading the top of the timetables because he was the first one out. That was like they had done some quick runs, and then Yuki Tsunoda put it between a 7-time world champion and the guy who's going to take over for the 7-time world champion.
Right. And he also, it's his first qualifying session ever. He also put in one of those fastest laps in testing. He was quick in practice. I mean, now, you know, we'll put the brakes on a little bit. And yes, we're, you know, sucking the proverbial dick of Yuki
I was literally
Tsunoda.
About to say, let's stop sucking Yuki's proverbial dick right now.
Really hard. There goes our journalism tag. But they have been testing here. They've had practice here. They've had a race here and qualifying. So he has had quite a bit of time.
Okay. Yeah, he's used to the track, but I mean, if we look at his history, I'll get back on the sucking his proverbial dick.
Go for it.
He was real good in F3 first year, real good in F2 first year.
Yeah.
I mean, in F1, he's, like you said, he put in fast testing times. He put in FP1 the first time. He was yelling at people about traffic. He put in fast practice times. He put in fast quali times. I mean, he's scoring ports on your F1 debut is nothing to shake a stick at.
No, not at all. I mean, from starting on the grid and 13th to finish 9th that's respectable. That's respectable for a rookie first start in a mid-pack car.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what he does for the rest of the season and if he can keep that up and potentially even do better than that. I mean, he showed some moments that were he looks really good. He looks like he could be a future star talent in F1.
Yeah, I agree. I think like we said before, I think the Alpha Tower is really good. We'll stick with Alpha just to kind of finish it out. Bad luck for Pierre Gasly.
Yeah. Terrible luck for Gasly.
I think he got hit on the opening lap or two. He made contact with Ricciardo. He lost his front wing and just never fully recovered from that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So just bad luck for him. I know he was looking for a good race. We know if you listen to the last podcast, I think we're all rooting for Pierre. If you read the write-up that Pierre did himself, if you search the internet for who is the real Pierre Gasly or what's the truth about Pierre Gasly or something, Gasly actually wrote a post about everything that happened from him since he got demoted from Red Bull in 2019.
Yep.
That's a fantastic write-up. I'm getting goosebumps just like reminiscing about it right now. I think everybody I definitely, if from nothing else, I quickly became a Pierre Gasly fan fully 100% off of that. I became a little bit of a fan when he started doing really well after he got demoted. He didn't get kicked down. We all know he won Monza last year. He did that write-up kind of clearing the air about everything that happened with him with fucking, with Red Bull, going back to AlphaTauri, losing his friend Antoine Hubert at Spa. That was that same day. Bad luck for him. He'll definitely bounce back from it. He doesn't let anything get him down. I think Pierre is going to have a good year. I think Tsunoda's going to have a good year. I think AlphaTauri, after this race, I think they've got a good shot at coming in fourth.
Yeah, I agree.
Very possibly in the championship this year.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're kind of starting with the mid-pack unintentionally, but I'm going to segue over here.
Yeah.
Nice.
Please get us back on track.
Who's a rookie that didn't do well today?
Oh, you know what? What's his name? He's from Eastern Europe. Czechoslovakia. No, not Czech.
No, that's not it.
No, it's the Czech Republic anyway.
Yeah, right.
He's a French fellow. No, that's just
he's a European. Yeah.
Mazepin.
Yes, that's the
Marzipan.
one. That Marzipan. Yeah, my dad bought the team. No,
Yeah.
we've already got one of those. He can't be the second one.
Lap 1, was it turn 4?
Turn
3?
Not even halfway around. Well, I don't even know if he was out of sector 1. In fact, I'm pretty sure he wasn't.
Yeah, he binned it.
He
was
binned
the
it.
first one.
And
I mean, he lived up to his. I tried to give the kid as much credit as possible.
Yep.
He was decent in F2. He was decent in whatever Formula Japan or Asia, whatever he was.
Formula
he was kicked out of
3000
F2
or something,
before,
yeah.
or whatever. He was decent there. Everyone was calling him Mazepin. I'm like, all right, give this dude, let him see what he can do in F1.
Right.
And first lap, he spins it, bends the car into the wall.
Yep.
In a team that's struggling with, was struggling with money. Now that they have a billionaire investor, maybe he can crash into the wall as much as he wants to, and his dad will just write everything off as a business expense. But
well, and I've got a little bit.
That's not good.
I've got a little bit of a rant about old Mazepin.
Please.
I almost called him Mazepin just because.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen his actual name written anywhere since this morning that hasn't been Mazepin. Yeah. So here's my thing. Okay, so obviously, credit where it's due. He did okay in Formula 2. He won races. He did drive the car. I mean, he was right there in the title fight towards the end when Schumacher won it. He wasn't really on the sharp end, but he was close.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he makes an off-track poor decision.
Uh-huh.
And okay, so the internet is outraged and everybody's telling him that, not my Haas driver.
Yeah, I guess we never touched on this because we were during our hiatus when
So
this all happened live time.
So my thing is like I see all these posts and all these people that are outraged and get him out of the seat and all this stuff. And okay, first of all, do I agree with what he did? Absolutely not. I've seen the video. It's not a good look. Absolutely for certain. It's a bad look.
Stupid that he put it on the internet. Stupid that he did it. Stupider that he put it on the internet.
Yes. So just throwing that out there, I don't agree with it. However, I am of the thought that we're all human. We all make really stupid mistakes, especially at young ages, which a lot of people forget that these guys are extremely young and extremely dumb sometimes.
He's college age.
Right. And I'm not excusing what he did, but the fact is he did it once that we know of. He apologized publicly, but we're still crucifying him. It's like, at what point do we move on and be like, okay, he made a mistake. It's not great. It's not a good look. It's not what you should do or how you should conduct yourself, but you can't crucify somebody their entire life for making one mistake. It's just not realistic.
Right.
Now, if he does it again, that's a different story.
Yeah, throw him to the walls.
Throw him to the walls. Yeah, because then at that point it's reoccurring behavior. But that being said, the guy's not going to go anywhere. No matter how many people attack the Haas admin on Instagram and Twitter,
which they don't deserve that. They're not the ones making the decisions.
Right. That's just somebody with a job.
Yeah.
So, that guy's in a room somewhere and they're like, hey, you got to make a post about Mazepin today. And he's like, fuck!
Yeah, exactly.
God damn it. My inbox is going to blow up today with all these people that absolutely hate me because I'm posting about one of the drivers in the team that I'm obligated to post about. And like it or not, fellow F1 fans in the ether, he's not going anywhere. They're investing too much money in the team. The car is a Russian flag. He's not going anywhere.
Man, it looks fucking good too.
But he's not. It's not going to happen. So, for better or for worse, all of us as F1 fans just kind of have to accept the fact that he's going to be in the sport.
Yeah.
Okay. That being said, it's a really, 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 really bad look to take the worst car on the grid in pretty much dead last and without any contact or really going wheel to wheel with anybody, just spin it out and throw it into a wall at the very beginning of the race.
Yeah.
Not a good look. Not a good look at all.
And F1's this is where we'll give Mazepin, whatever you want to call it, give him his credit or whatever. Mick Schumacher did the same thing like the next lap.
Yep.
So that car looks tricky to drive, which is not unexpected because the Haas has been tricky to drive for the last 2 years. So you put two brand new kids, how good they are in F2 aside, you put two brand new children in a tricky car that it was hard for Grosjean and Magnussen to drive last year. It's essentially the same car. They've said that they're probably not going to develop it even at all this year.
They're definitely not going to develop it at all this year.
Then you're going to probably expect a couple hiccups here and there with, them starting their first couple of races here, whether it's spinning it turn one a la Grosjean, the last year or two.
Yeah.
Or if it's Nikita Mazepin, who did relatively well in his last couple seasons in F2 or whatever, and he does the same thing. Mick Schumacher did the same thing. So clearly that car is difficult to drive. Clearly they're there because they're good enough to be behind the wheel of an F1 car. God forbid, I can't do it. You can't do it.
Yeah.
I would say pretty much 99% of the people that listen to this podcast can't get behind the wheel of an F1 car and drive it even remotely to the level that they can. So, yeah, it looks shitty. Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, Haas is probably going to be behind Williams this year. They're probably going to finish last now that I understand that. Probably not a good chance at them getting points.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Hopefully them deciding not to develop this year's car and focusing all their efforts on the complete rule change next year, that puts them back towards the front of the midfield like they were back in 16, 17, 18 when they were making all those strides. So
yeah, absolutely. I think that Haas is doing the right thing by not developing this car, focusing all the efforts on 2022 now, not 2021 because we're here.
Yeah. Right.
But I always had this thought, like, okay, so they buy everything and Dallara makes their chassis, right? Like, from what I understand, they buy a lot of parts from Ferrari, and then Dallara makes the car as far as the aero goes. What are they going to do with this new... Dallara has no basis to build a car off of. I mean, are they just, sending them CAD and just being like, hey, build this out of carbon and ship it over to us, and then we'll run it in the wind tunnel? How are they... How are they using a third party to build a brand new Formula One car? I don't understand that.
I don't know. I'm not gonna try and understand it either. I'm gonna hope. As much as it's gonna suck, as much as a Schumacher is on the F1 grid, and I'm gonna not pay attention to it, I'm just gonna not pay attention to Haas this year.
They don't exist to me, honestly.
It's just gonna make me sad. It's the American team. I gotta root for them. I mean, I don't gotta root for them. I definitely do root for them. They're the only American team in F1. As money backed as they can be, as Russian as the car looks, Gene Haas still owns the team at this point, and Gene Haas is a full-blown gosh darn American. So,
yep. Hot take that team is owned by Mazepin's father at the end of this year.
I think it's entirely possible.
I think it's inevitable, is what it is.
I think it's more likely than not that is what's going to happen. With what we saw with last year, Drive to Survive, where Gene was like, I don't want to put any more money into this team.
Yeah,
I'm sick of losing, yada, yada, yada. I think that's entirely possible with a Russian billionaire who was trying to buy a team, who was trying to buy Racing Point 2 years ago now, end up getting outbid. Now it has his son in the team and has title sponsorship. I think it's entirely possible that the Mazepin team becomes Mazepin Racing next year.
Yeah, Mazepin, Uralkali, F1 Formula Team, Limited, Super Turbo, awesome Adidas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Russian house music. Tracksuit.com.
.com. What is the
.ru.
.ru? There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you do to the car this year? Well, we put the underglow on it, and we've got big speakers in the back, so we play house
With
music.
Big speaker, we play. Yeah.
Everybody, all the mechanics are just in Adidas tracksuits.
Yeah.
I'm
just
actually,
getting
you know,
sponsored by Adidas.
fucking bring it on. Well, you know what the ironic part would be? Because William's story keeps going on about how he's going to get back into Formula One.
Yeah.
Mazepin buys the team.
It's the rich energy Mazepin your alkali Formula One team.
Yeah, it's the evil empire Formula One team is what it would be.
Christ.
Just like a whole bunch of the most unlikable people on earth, and then Schumacher.
Yeah, and then you get the golden pony boy of the arguably greatest of all time driving for that team.
And then you get Schumacher comes out after the team's changed over. He's got like a gold chain on.
Yeah.
He's just all Russian down.
He's got a buzz cut. The race suits are track suits.
Yeah.
Adidas track suits. The boots, somehow Adidas gets into the performance shoe wear game and Puma just goes out the window and it's everything sponsored by Adidas.
I'd love to see it. I don't know if I want to see it at the
certainly be something.
It would be a spectacle, no doubt.
Yeah.
They'd bring back Grid Girls somehow. Just for that team. Like they'd have them. And the FIA would be like, you can't do that. And they're like, no. They're engineers.
No, she's mechanic. She's part of team.
She is right rear wheel off.
Yeah. Oh my god. All right, well, let's continue with the back of the pack.
I got sidetracked there.
Yeah, a little bit.
Can I say as far as we covered one alpha team, but the other alpha team has actually picked up some a little bit of pace this season. Yeah,
that helps with. I mean, obviously, we'll get to it when it comes, but Ferrari has made some strides as well.
Yeah, Kimi, 20 years in F1 as of this year.
As of this year, there was another stat. I don't remember it. But it was a good stat that Crofty was saying. I'm not even gonna bother. I can't remember it all, and it's a moot point at this point.
Yep.
But yeah, Kimi has broken some sort of record or something.
He's the oldest man alive.
Yeah, maybe it's like he's been in F1 longer now than he has not been in F1 or something. I don't know.
How old is Kimi? Is Kimi 40?
He's 40. Yeah.
So for half of his entire life, he's been driving a Formula One car.
Yeah.
We're gonna say that's a stat. We're moving on. I have nothing else to say about Alpha. Really.
Nope. Completely anonymous this race.
Yep.
Other than hold on. Other than, did you see the radio debacle?
Oh yes, dude. I was cracking up.
Can you hear me? Nope, we can't hear you. Yet you still respond.
Yeah. Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you, Kimmy. Can you hear me now? No, still can't hear you.
Yeah.
I showed one of my roommates and he was fucking cracking up. I was like, this is brilliant. This is
that first race. You got classic Kimi radio.
The only thing I can think of just to be a wet blanket on that is that maybe they see a light or a transmit or something, but they can't hear him. So they know he's transmitting something.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's the only, because I know in the airplane, that's the case. A lot of the times it's like you'll have lost comms and shit.
In the airplane.
In the airplane. I know. All right, moving on. I might have to edit that out so I don't look like a twat. All right.
Williams? Do we want to talk about Williams?
I could spare. Well, okay. Is Latifi still a Formula One driver? I didn't notice that he was there.
Allegedly. He's
Allegedly,
on the timesheet. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Whether he's doing anything, I don't know if I missed it. I didn't hear any radio of him. I didn't see any TV coverage of him. I saw Russell bumbling around in the points for a little bit before everybody else in front of him pitted.
Yeah.
And then dropped back to his normal 2 or 3 spots from the end as far as the runners go.
So I'm gonna throw this out here. So you know when you go to the gym and you always inevitably see that one guy who's walking out and he's got his arms 2 feet away from his body as if his lats are like the biggest things on earth, and that prevents him from putting his arms in a normal position while he's walking out.
He's swole AF, yeah. Mm.
Yeah. I'm gonna start calling Latifi the invisible lat because his timesheet is LAT,
Yep.
and nobody sees him. He's the invisible lat.
Yep. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. He's like a superhero, except his superpower is just being completely anonymous.
Yeah. I mean, George did put into Q2.
Mr. Saturday.
Mr. Saturday, first race of the season. He got it into Q2. So I definitely think that the William has made some strides from last year.
Definitely.
As such, I definitely think that Haas will be bringing up the rear a la Williams last year and the year before.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to have to remember that and adjust my predictions accordingly for my bottom 5.
Yeah.
Russell did decent. Latifi was anonymous.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't have. The other thing, what I do have to say about the Williams is it just me, or does the Williams car look a lot smaller on track than the rest of the cars around it?
It does. I did kind of notice it. I don't know if it's just like the paint scheme being kind of like it's
Maybe
like
it
an
was
optical illusion.
It was like blending in because of the white or something. It made it look smaller on the front. It looked very small when they were showing that Russell like battling with Vettel or whatever.
Yeah.
It looked a lot smaller. It looked like 3/4 of the car.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, other than that, that's all I have really to say about about Williams.
Yeah. Well, I will give them this. I'll give Williams this credit. They did only finish one lap down.
Yeah.
And the Williams wasn't even it finished in front of an Aston Martin and the Schumacher Haas. So I'll give him that. I mean, there's a lot of DNFs, but
Yeah.
shit happens. For
A little bit of shenanigans.
Yeah.
What about? So we'll continue with that. We'll segue that into Aston Martin then.
I have some thoughts on Aston Martin, but none of them are coherent, and most of them are just kind of sad.
Lay it on me, because mine's all sad.
Okay, so we gotta start with qualifying.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's really, really, really hard. It's getting really hard to defend Sebastian Vettel. It's getting really difficult to defend that guy, and I want to. I can't believe that a 4-time world champion and somebody that was so dominant and somebody that was in the Ferrari, but a few years ago was challenging for the championship and was leading the championship, somehow has immediately forgotten how to drive a Formula One car quickly. I don't understand what happened. Like, Vettel is, I mean, to go out in Q1 and then Lance Stroll is out qualifying him. Lance Stroll is out qualifying a 4-time world champion in equal machinery. This doesn't make sense. I just don't like, and it doesn't look, I mean, okay, so you got Otmar saying that it's that they're affected because they're a low rate car, and the new rules for this year are affecting low rate cars more than high rate cars, and blah blah blah. Mercedes,
I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, seems to be doing okay, even though they're a low rate car. I just it's really hard for me to look at these results and be like, okay, here's Vettel in 15th, 1 lap down, and Stroll is in 10th with 1 point.
I share your concerns.
I am very concerned.
I am upset. I am concerned. I'm upset that the Aston Martin is not where I thought it was going to be. I am concerned that Sebastian Vettel is going to completely tarnish his reputation more if he can't turn this around. I will throw him a bone and I will give him a mulligan here, because he did get caught up by the Mazepin during qualifying. So he did get a penalty, which did drop him down the grid. We all know that placement in this day and age does factor into where your race finishes. He also tangled with Gasly, so he probably had some sort of damage on that car. that was lingering. Otmar Safnauer said that, with the rule regulation changes, low rate cars are doing worse than the high rate cars. Yes, Mercedes is a low rate car and they're doing better, but they've been Mercedes and they've been doing better for the last 7 years.
It's fair.
Racing Point, Force India, Aston Martin typically does really well, or at least well enough for them to be considered a good team, a good-ish team with the budget that they've had in recent years. There's no reason that now that they have essentially a blank check that they should be doing poorly, other than some sort of weird reason like a rule shakeup that maybe they hadn't invested a lot of money in. So I will throw him a bone. I will give Aston Martin an asterisk for the first couple of races as they try to sort everything out here. If they're not where I thought they were going to be, which is third or fourth best team on the grid by like a quarter of the way through the season, then I'm going to write them off, because it's worse than what I thought, and it's not good for F1 or for Vettel to see him where he was. Because, I mean, you're right. Going out in Q1, finishing a lap down, running into people because you don't know, apparently, where Gasly is going to go offline or whatever.
Well, was it Ocon? Ocon that he hit?
Ocon, yes,
Yeah.
not Gasly. I'm sorry, yeah. Not ideal.
And that crash was 150% his fault.
Yeah.
I mean, Ocon had the corner. It was obvious, and he just ran right up the back of him. It was just...
Yeah.
And
I mean, it was page 1, chapter 1 of how not to brake when a car passes you and gets in front of you.
It was very Max Verstappen, Daniel Ricciardo-esque at Baku.
Right.
Yeah. It was
get in front of him, you're too close, you lose the
textbook,
downforce.
actually, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is a 4-time world champion should know how to handle that car.
Yeah, 4-time world champion shouldn't make those mistakes.
No, and if it was something like he got into the Ferrari from the Red Bull and he was shit in this formula, and then like he's just been consistently bad, but the thing is he hasn't. There was a period in time where he was able to drive that Ferrari really well.
Yeah.
And I don't, everybody's like, oh, maybe the environment was just that bad and it was that toxic and the Ferrari wasn't that good. And then now it's just, he's running out of excuses pretty fast.
I mean, to show how good he was, only today was the record tied for the number of people, or for the same trio of people being on the podium. The previous record was Vettel, Rosberg, and Hamilton.
Right.
Obviously, with a half of that being the turbo hybrid era of 14 podiums shared by the same person. Verstappen, Hamilton, Bottas just tied that today.
Yep.
So everybody knows Sebastian Vettel, at least at one point, I'm going to still stick with now. Sebastian Vettel is not a bad driver. Sebastian Vettel knows how to drive a Formula One car, but
he just hasn't shown it lately.
Maybe it's getting away from him. I don't know. I hope it's not. Anybody who's listened to this podcast knows that we're Seb Vettel fans. We
all three of us
want him to do well. We all want him. The world is a better place when Sebastian Vettel does well on a Formula One car.
I think if Vince were here, Vince would just go off on a rant right now about how much he loves Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Vince would.
It's his favorite driver.
Yeah, of all time. He told me that the other day. He said, "Don't tell anybody," and I'm telling the world now. But Vince said that Sebastian Vettel was his favorite driver, and he has like a whole shrine in his closet.
He followed him all through. I mean, even through Toro Rosso. I mean, that's when it started.
Yeah,
he just saw young Seb Vettel. He saw that long hair, and he was like, "Man, that's my guy."
Yeah, in more ways than one. And I'll let you ponder that.
Yeah.
That's his free pass.
Let's move on to another disappointing team, and that's the French outfit.
Oh, Alpine. Yeah, not a. it wasn't great. I don't know, man.
I mean, it's French people doing French things.
Yeah.
Fernando Alonso'd that car into qualifying.
He did.
Where he didn't have anything. He was complaining about everything, and suddenly he found 1.5 seconds.
Yep.
But that was about all the good stuff that he did with that car over the weekend.
Yeah, and you gotta kind of, I don't know. I'm not gonna say you gotta feel bad for Fernando Alonso, but
I've been on record saying that he's an old man and he's 106 years old, and they probably should have gone with Guan Yu Zhou or another young driver or something.
And
for this year.
I completely agree with it. The funny thing is, a lot of people link like Gasly. They're like, "Oh, Gasly's going to end up at Alpine. It makes sense for Gasly to go to." If I was Gasly, I'd be like, "Hell no." No. Like, yeah,
the AlphaTauri is a much
better racing car than the Alpine. And it's proven by the fact that Yuki Tsunoda came 9th and Esteban Ocon came 13th. I mean, it's that would be 100% a step backwards, and I just do not think
Alonso DNF due to a reliability issue.
Yeah,
the electronics, his brakes gave out.
Yeah,
he lost the rear brakes, and there's no. I mean, it's Renault reliability. It's Alpine reliability.
Which is an oxymoron. It's French reliability.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Jumbo shrimp, Renault reliability.
It goes hand in hand.
It's not good. I hope if Pierre is ever tied to that seat, I hope it's not true.
Yeah, I feel like he would have to be an idiot, because I think he's got a much better chance to fight for podiums and wins in the AlphaTauri than he does in an Alpine. And it was, you look at it and it just didn't, there was nothing that car did this weekend that stood out.
No, not even.
It was very anonymous. Outside of the points, both of them. And, Ocon was running. Fernando Alonso wasn't. And if you're Alonso, you got to look at the McLaren and be like, fuck. He Alonso'd himself again.
Yeah, he did. I mean, we all want to see closer racing, so we all want all the teams to do well. We want Renault to do well. Towards the end of the year, they were up there with everybody else. They were fighting for third with McLaren and Racing Point. But I mean, it's the first race, but it doesn't look good for the Endstone team, if we want to call them that, out the gate here. No. Ocon was relatively anonymous, other than the clash that he had with Vettel. Alonso, he made up a couple spots, but he ended up retiring because he lost the rears. He did well in qualifying, but points are made on a Sunday, not a Saturday. So,
absolutely.
It is what it is. I don't know. I don't have much more on Alpine.
I don't really have anything else on Alpine, I'll be honest.
Other than, whatever.
I do have a few things on Ferrari.
Yes, let's go to a team that's starting to excite me again this year.
I think, here's my bold prediction. I think by the end of the year, Carlos Sainz will have more points than
I already agree.
Charles Leclerc.
You don't need to finish it, and I already agree.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
He looked very, very comfortable in that car, and he went on record saying that he played that race safe. He did not take any risks because he wanted a good first result in the Ferrari car.
Yep.
And it kind of shows. I mean, he came home 8th in front of Tsunoda, and Charles Leclerc was 2 spots up in 6th. Much better showing from Ferrari.
Yeah.
Kind of leading into the idea that they were fuel restricted last year as a penalty.
100%. I think that's the truth. We touched on that the last podcast that we had.
Yep.
We can see that by the way that they're back up in the mix. Charles Leclerc easily qualified P4. It wasn't any shenanigans or anything like that.
Pure pace.
Carlos Sainz easily qualified where he was as well. They both qualified. They both got into Q3 on the mediums. That wasn't a shot No, I'm sorry. They got in on the softs.
Softs. They were on the softs.
They were on the softs. They did have pace in the beginning on the mediums, but McLaren, I think, kind of shocked them with their overall raw pace. But Ferrari is more of a contender for that third spot this year than I initially thought.
They've definitely improved more than I thought it was possible for them to improve.
100%.
From last year to this year. And if you look at it, okay, so the Ferraris are now faster as well as the Alfa Romeos, the Alfa Tauris. So the Alfa Romeos 11th, 12th, the Ferraris 6th and 8th. And I mean, it's hard to say because the Haas's are being driven by, Mazepin and Schumacher, who are both rookies, but I would assume that they would pick up some engine power and some straight line speed as well.
Yeah. As long as you would think so. I mean, they all run the same engine, so
you would
default,
assume
they should have the same amount of power. It's just going to come down to chassis and driver comfortability with the car, which when you have two rookies in the car, if there is any time to be made up, they're going to take some time getting used to it.
Absolutely.
With only 3 days of testing and, one race weekend, you can't expect a baby to run right away. So
no. All right. So I want to touch on McLaren very quickly, and then we can get into the meat of this race.
Yeah.
So McLaren, and this is weird for me to say, the 4th and the 7th, I'm disappointed, which is so crazy to say, but I'm disappointed with McLaren.
I'm not. I'll disagree with you on that. I think they did exactly what they could do. Lando Norris has been driving that car for 3 years. He came in fucking 4th.
Yeah.
He was running 3rd, 4th the entire race. Lando's got that car underneath him. Danny Rick is a newbie to that car.
Yeah.
We all know Danny Rick's a good driver. He's going to come into it, a third of the way through the season.
Well,
he's going to start putting those results in and everything.
Same thing happened at Renault when he first got in the car. He wasn't getting the best out of it, and it took about a couple races before he was finally really, hammering that car around like it should be.
That's a good race car.
It's a good race car. Please, don't misunderstand me. I'm happy with the McLaren. I think it's a great car. It's vastly improved. But I guess I still bought into the hype from years ago when Fernando Alonso said that it was the best chassis on the grid. And I thought with that power unit in it, with that Mercedes unit and how narrow the back was and how well packaged it looked and everything, I was expecting Norris to be even closer to Bottas and hassling him and being kind of right there in that fighting for third podium. I thought they were just going to be a hair quicker that they could throw their hat into that mix.
Okay, so let's think about this. Now that we've got our feelings out of the way, let's think about this rationally.
But no, that's no fun.
Lando Norris didn't win F2. So I think he finished F3. I think he finished 3rd the year that he came into F1. Maybe he finished 2nd behind Russell. I don't remember exactly, but he's not the best driver to come out of F2. No discrediting Lando Norris. I love the kid. I think he's hilarious. I think he's a very good Formula One driver.
I think he's a very good driver.
He's not the best driver on the grid. So I think given who finished in front of him, given the shenanigans that ensued, which should have put another car in front of him, another Red Bull in front of him.
Yes.
I think Lando Norris did as well as he could have, and he did very well to be that 3rd, 4th, finish 4th the way that he did. I think, like I said earlier, I think it's exactly down to Danny Rick's not entirely comfortable with the car yet.
Yeah.
But McLaren, from my last race predictions to this race, McLaren quickly jumped up to my favorite to finish 3rd in the constructors this year. Once Danny Rick gets the car under him, they're going to finish. It's going to be any combination of Ham-Bot, Verstappen, Perez, top 4, and then Danny Rick and Lando Norris fighting for 5, 6 the whole year.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. I think you're absolutely right. I agree. I think they will be battling Ferrari for third in the constructors championship. I 100% agree with that. But I guess I thought that it was going to be just slightly closer. And the fact that it wasn't, that it was still kind of that 2-horse race at the front and then Formula 1.5, it just kind of, it's a little disappointing. I was expecting this grid to even be closer, and it just really wasn't. I mean,
I'm just glad it's a 2-horse race. Let's stretch that slightly, given all scenarios being equal. It's a 4-horse race for the front.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
If you're okay, let's move on from McLaren onto Red Bull now. Go ahead. You can still, if you
No. That was a sigh of like, I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for what am I going to say about this Red Bull team.
In his first race in a new car, Sergio Perez did Daniel Ricciardo things.
Hey, I will 100% right now. Hats off to Perez, because for his first racing weekend in a Red Bull, he's had a tough one. That was a rough weekend.
He had a tough one. The car completely cut out on him on the way to the grid. Thank God they redid the formation lap and he was able to get it going again, but he had to start from the pits.
Yep.
I mean, he put it from last to 18th. Or I'm sorry. He put it from last to 5th. Like
last to 18th.
He did Daniel Ricciardo things. I love Alex Albon. I love Pierre Gasly.
Yep.
Alex Albon wouldn't have scored points in that race, and I don't think Pierre Gasly would have in that Red Bull either.
No, he wouldn't have. And that's the thing, is that's the difference between, an Albon and, I mean, I hate to say it, but an Albon and Perez.
Perez did exactly what he was brought into that team to do, and maximize every possible point that he could, given the situation that he was put in.
The fact that the man qualified 11th, dropped down to last, started from the pit lane, and then ended up finishing 5th is
behind a Mercedes of Lewis Hamilton, the next best driver on the grid in Max Verstappen,
who started from pole.
Who started from pole, Valtteri Bottas, who is in the same best car on the grid, theoretically, if we believe equal machinery.
Yeah.
And then Lando Norris, who just had a hell of a race in the third best car on the grid, third best team on the grid. Yeah. Perez did everything he could to fight all the way through the pack through that entire race to come in 5th.
I mean, he was
Red Bull has a shot this year, as long as they can keep their shit together and Hamilton doesn't pull off Mercedes magic.
And here's the thing is, Perez, think about any other driver, they'd be like, okay, my car just cut out completely.
Yeah,
they were replacing control electronics before the race even started.
Yeah.
And then you start from the pit lane, and he just went, all right, head down, let's go. And ends up picking up 10 points, and he wasn't even a lap down. I mean, 52 seconds off the win. But, I mean, when you look at it, at the end of it, he's 8 seconds behind Norris, who started, where was Norris qualified at? 7th?
He started...
7th on the grid.
7th? Okay.
So, to start 20th on the grid and then still come 8 seconds behind somebody that started 7th, I mean...
Who ended up finishing 4th.
I mean, it was an unbelievable drive from Perez. I think that the more time he gets in that car, which he's come out and said, he's like, I'm not comfortable driving this car.
What did Perez qualify?
Perez qualified...
He qualified 4th, didn't he? No. He went out. Qualified 4th.
He qualified 11th.
He went out. Yeah, he did to go out in Q2.
He went out in Q2. Yeah.
Perez doesn't drop
nothing.
back. Perez doesn't have his entire car quit on him before the race and end up starting from the pit lane. That Red Bull wins that race.
Yeah, I find that's hard to disagree with. Yeah.
Perez carves up through the field in the beginning like he normally does. If he can make up 15 positions in a whole lap distance, he can make up 6 positions in the same amount of time.
Yeah.
Red Bull has a second car in the mix. Mercedes doesn't get the undercut or they don't win the pit strategy battle because they have 2 cars versus 1. Max wins that race if Perez doesn't get massively unlucky. And say what you want, say F1 is F1, say you make your own luck or you got to deal with the cards you're dealt, whatever. It's a completely different race if that's the case. And I think we have a much better shot of a Red Bull doing well, both cars doing well, week in, week out, barring any unforeseen reliability circumstances, which is very rare for Honda.
Yeah, I mean, last year they were very reliable. I think that it's going to be interesting to see Imola and see where Perez ends up, because he showed what he was made of this race. I mean, well-deserved driver of the day, well-deserved finish in the race. I mean, he drove the fucking wheels off that car.
Yep.
And it was impressive. It was an impressive showing from a second Red Bull driver, which is not something we've been able to say since Danny Rick left the team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean,
for going, this is the 3rd year.
Yeah.
This is the first really good drive that I've seen from the second Red Bull driver in 3 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd go with that. I mean, I know Albon got some podiums and whatnot, but I would say that, from where Perez started to where he finished, it was the most impressive second driver Red Bull drive that I've seen since Danny Rick.
Yep.
And even if you could call them second, I mean, when Danny Rick was in the team, I would say that they were equal footing. I know Danny Rick felt like he was being number 2'd, which, I mean, Max is
towards the end of his,
stint
career
there.
You can probably say that's the case.
But I mean, I feel like they would trade off wins quite a lot.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into it. What do you think about what happened on the 3rd to last lap where Max overtook Hamilton off track?
Yep.
He was told he needed to give the position back, and he immediately gave it back, costing him a lot of time.
Okay, I've got a lot of thoughts on this. One, very, very, very much a la Vettel, Hamilton, Canada, and I can't name the year, where he went off on the
2018.
18, when he went into the grass, got the position, and they gave him the time penalty, and he switched the boards at the end.
Yep.
Very much the same vibes. Okay.
2019.
19?
Yeah, it was 19.
So here's the thing. The entire race, that corner was getting cut to the point where Red Bull came over and they told Max, you can cut that corner
29 times by Hamilton.
Yeah. And they told him
that corner 29 times.
And you would argue that he was gaining an advantage every single time he did it. Am I wrong?
As much so to exactly where you're going with. Christian Horner comes on the radio and says Hamilton has been going wide at turn 4 the whole race. You might as well do that as well until we get called for it.
Yep. And that's exactly what happened. Now, the fact that, and as I'm watching it, to me, it was a racing move. He went around the outside. Hamilton pushed him slightly wide. He avoided a collision, went off the track, completed the move, and got the place. For all of the laps leading up to it, he was the faster car. He was taking a second to half a second every lap out of Hamilton in the second sector. I mean, he was the faster car. 10 laps, newer tires. And we all know how hard it is to drive those cars when you're following another car. You're losing downforce. You're losing aero. It's more difficult. So, Verstappen makes that move, exceeds track limits at turn 4, and I've watched the replays, and it really wasn't even that egregious. He went off track, but it wasn't by more than I saw being done the entire race.
Right.
And the fact that he is told to give that place back immediately, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It's inconsistency. They should have been calling the track limits on turn 4 the entire race. Why is it that it's at the very end when it's the most critical part of the race and a driver makes a spectacular move around the outside that it gets called? Like, that to me, they're going to say, oh, he gained an advantage. Well, Hamilton was gaining an advantage the entire race. I don't see how this is any different, just other than the fact that it's for the race win.
Right. And so I will agree with you on the fact that the inconsistency is egregious.
It is
If
egregious.
If they're going to enforce turn 4 track limits at during practice, during qualifying, you cannot run off the track, because that's what it is. Going over the curbs and everything, you're going off track. You cannot run off track, otherwise your time is deleted. You get some sort of infraction for it. If they enforce that during FP1 and qualifying, they should enforce that during the race. Now, the fact that they weren't enforcing that during the race, they said it in the beginning, they weren't going to enforce it during the race. They were very clear up front about that. Whether or not all the teams got that, albeit, whatever, it is what it is. Mercedes knew that. They decided to exploit what they could. I'm going to argue that Max was in the wrong. He did go a little bit more wide than Hamilton had the whole time. Now, whether or not Hamilton's doing it the whole time leading up to it, and then Verstappen starts doing it, whatever, Verstappen did overtake him off track, and that gains him a lasting advantage by the rule books. You can't pass somebody off track. I don't necessarily have a problem with that ruling. My problem is that Red Bull fucked up the strategy, and they told him to immediately give it back to him. Verstappen said, just let me pull on the guy. I would have pulled 5 seconds on him. They would have given me a time penalty, and I still would have won anyway. I think that would have been a better idea. I think what Martin Brundle said at the end of the race was letting him go past you during the pit straight. That way you still have DRS. And so you don't lose as much of advantage as you do letting him go by in a tricksy section where you have to slow down. And Hamilton got so much of advantage that he got out of DRS for one lap. And that was arguably the reason why Max lost the race. And so I think he definitely overtook off track. That was a no-no. He gained a lasting advantage. It was the right thing. If their solution was giving the place back, they did the right thing to give him the place back, but they did it in the wrong section. I think they should have just let Max pull on him, a la Vettel 2019 Canada, and just dealt with the time penalty and leave it up to Max if he can pull the time on him.
So here's my take on it. I agree with the fact that Max definitely messed up his racecraft there. It would have been much, much, much smarter for him to follow Hamilton right on his gearbox that entire lap, use DRS, pass him on the straightaway, make a clean move, beat him down into turn 1, and call it a day. Fuck off into the distance. He has 10 laps, newer tires. There he goes. I also agree that, like, in Max's defense, in that move, if he had just kept the position and he probably could have pulled 5 seconds in clear air in front of Hamilton.
He had 5 or 6 laps left. By the time he made the move, he could have, I think so. Yeah.
If he throws in 5 quality laps at the very end of the race, absolutely. He could pull 5 seconds on Hamilton at that point, who he was gaining a second a lap on him anyways. I mean, so I agree with that. I think Red Bull fucked up the strategy. Lest we forget, Max Verstappen was talking about diff issues, and they were having him change diff settings the entire race. So this is where I'm going to get into. I think Red Bull lost this race for themselves.
They did.
Red Bull.
It was their race to lose, and they lost.
And they lost it when it came down to it. Hamilton. I mean, Max had Hamilton dead to rights. At the end of that race, he had him dead to rights. And if the role is reversed and Max is in that position and Hamilton's coming up behind him, Hamilton wins that race. 10 times out of 10, Hamilton wins that race. With the roles reversed, Red Bull fucked themselves. And it was a combination of team strategy and driver, and the fact that they didn't have that second driver in position to run interference.
100% agree.
I think that's the downside. The upsides of this weekend, I think that the Red Bull power unit and the Mercedes power unit are absolutely equal, if not a slight edge to the Honda power unit.
I agree.
I think that car is fucking rapid. It is, even in testing, when I looked at it and I was just watching, every year I look at testing the same way. I'm like, you can't really get anything from this. You're not really going to understand anything from it. You know, they're running full fuel simulations and all sorts of stuff. They're testing aero. But every time I saw that Red Bull on track, I go, that's a good racing car. Yep. That is a fast racing car. It is a sure-footed, very, very, very quick, well-sorted car.
Yep.
And every time I just watch it, I get a good feeling about it. I'm like, this is the best shot. This is the best shot that Red Bull's had in this era of winning a championship. And I think that they can. I 100% believe that they can take that fight to Mercedes this year.
As long as they can keep their strategy right and they can keep a second car in the game.
There it is. That's it.
They will win the championship this year.
And
there's no doubt in my mind.
But
that's a big if, because Mercedes is damn near perfection. As much as it kills me to say that. They fuck up like once or twice a year, and that's it.
But here's the other good part of this. This track was never a Red Bull track, ever.
You're right. Yep.
Red Bull has never done well here. They've never qualified well here. They've never gotten pole there. They've never won a race there.
Yep.
And realistically, Max got pole. Max could have won that race, should have won that race.
Yep.
So if this is a track that the Red Bull, with differential issues and whatever else they had going on,
with differential issues, with Perez's car breaking on him in the beginning of the race,
starting from pit lane and still making it back up to fifth, I think that if they can do this at a track where that car is historically not good, when they get to those tracks that favor them, they are going to blow it out of the water. I feel like Red Bull is going to be the team to beat in the mid part of the season, where they hit those, like the Hungaro ring, the Red Bull ring. You know, I mean, like all those tracks that you look at that the Red Bull does particularly well at, they're going to Mexico is going to be another one. So I think there's a really, really good chance that Max wins this championship. And the other part of it is, knock on wood. But the other part of this is we got to take into account Hamilton's mental state. Because you look at Hamilton, he's going to have to go through contract negotiations in the middle of the year. He is going to get hassled more than he ever has before by another team. It's not even a teammate this time, where team orders can come into effect and they can tell, Rosberg or Bottas to switch positions with him. He's going to have to fight another team.
Yeah.
And the thing is, every other year I'd say the Mercedes is the best racing car on the grid. I don't even know if that's true this year.
I don't think so.
I don't think so at all. I mean, 0.4 of a second in qualifying that Max out.
0.4 is huge.
That's almost half a second.
That's Mercedes last year levels out qualifying everybody else when they had DAS and all that
and
shit.
The whole thing. So
that's mega.
I mean, when you're Hamilton and they ask him at the end, he goes, "That was all I could get out of this car."
Yeah.
He goes, "That was it." And Max goes 0.4 of a second faster. This was also the first race that I've seen Lewis Hamilton get out of a car and he's breathing heavy. He's sweating. He's, actually having to work to win this race.
If we want to take that and his team radio into account as well, if we're going to believe all that, you can see his physical stuff. But over the radio, he was saying, "This is all I have.
This is it.
This is all I have. My rear tires
are dead." We've heard that from Hamilton Lewis a million fucking times. Yeah. Oh, these tires are dead. Bono, fastest lap.
But Hamilton, if we look at him historically, if he is in an unfavorable position, if there is no shot at all, he gives up on the race.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100% he does.
Verstappen passing Hamilton outside of track limits, that was when it clicked into Hamilton's mind
that he could win.
I can win this if I fight back right now in these last 5 laps.
Up until that point, he had resigned. He did resign.
Yeah, up until that point, he was driving the car home to P2.
Yeah. No, 100% he did. And that's the thing that
that's what worries me, is Mercedes and Hamilton, and we'll just quickly. Bottas was a fucking stick in the mud. He finished like 20 seconds down on him.
Oh,
yeah, he got fastest lap
I think
at
it
the
was
end, but it was
37 seconds behind the leader. 37
dog
seconds.
shit.
36 seconds behind Verstappen.
That's one Mercedes behind another Mercedes, 36 seconds back.
I mean, and to be honest, okay, so I said earlier I was kind of disappointed about Norris not being able to hassle him as much. Norris was really only 9 seconds behind Bottas.
Yeah.
Considering Bottas started third on the grid and Norris started 7th.
Yeah. So take that slight tangent. Bottas is dog shit.
Yeah.
Hamilton, Mercedes, that's what worries me.
Yeah.
Is now Hamilton knows if he can get into the mind. Hamilton, Mercedes, they were rattled this weekend.
Absolutely.
They had no answer for Red Bull. I think wholeheartedly they believe that they were driving that car home to P2, and if they got P2 with Perez being out, then that was their best shot. But now that they see that Red Bull can fuck up, they see that strategy doesn't go well, and given adverse scenarios, Hamilton still got it. I mean, Hamilton himself said he's probably at his peak this year. This is probably the last year that he's got this much in the tank to bring the fight back. That's what worries me, is that might light a fire under Lewis's ass, knowing that he may not have that machinery, but he still has the experience and the old-headedness that if Red Bull isn't 100% perfect, Mercedes can still win. He's got that in the back of his mind now, so
yeah,
I don't think that's going to spell well for Red Bull, and they got to tighten the fuck up out of that shit, boy.
Oh, absolutely. I think that in reality, you've got two really, really, really important factors to consider. One of them is Max. If you're Max Verstappen, you look at this and you go, "This is my shot. This is my shot to take the fight to Lewis Hamilton and pretty much equal machinery and win."
Yeah,
I mean, that's just gonna be that's his motivation right now. If you're Hamilton, you look at this and you go, I am one championship away from being the most winningest driver ever in history.
Yeah.
So you've got these two conflicting, I mean, both of them want it, obviously.
I would say both are equally as wanted in the driver's mind. Max has the biggest shot ever to deny who is going to go down as one of the greatest drivers of all times, his greatest of all time achievement in denying him his 8th world title and arguably his best shot.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, Hamilton has his last shot in arguably the greatest car of all time to be the greatest and most winningest driver of all time.
Well, that's the thing, is there's no guarantees next year. There's no guarantees. That car could be dog shit.
Yeah.
He has no idea what's going to happen. And as it sits right now, he doesn't have a contract for 2022.
That's true.
So you look at the situation, it's, if you're Hamilton, you look at that Red Bull and you go, that car is half a second faster in qualifying around a track that they're not normally good at.
Yeah.
And I almost just lost this race. I won by the skin of my teeth because Max did not wait half a lap to do the move on the pit straight instead of doing it into turn 4.
Right.
I think that was just Max impatience, to be completely honest.
It was 100%. I mean, it's still, Max is only 23 years old. Yes, he's been in F1 since he was 17. But he saw Lewis lock up and run wide, and he was like, all right, this is my chance.
Yep.
And then that's when he went wide, and that's when he overtook him, and that's when his downfall ultimately came.
Yeah. Podcat. I think that this season is going to be a back and forth all season.
Yep.
I genuinely believe it's going to be back and forth. And you know what? It's not a coronavirus season. There is no asterisks. This is straight up 23 races, if we're lucky, title fight between these two, the two best drivers on the grid, if we're honest.
Down to the wire, yeah.
And I think that it's going to be fucking wild to watch. I am so excited. I woke up this morning and I could not wait for that race to start, and it did not disappoint. So
I've still got it. I've had it since I went to my first GP in 2017 in the US. I got my Red Bull Racing hat. I'm still rooting for them.
Hell yeah.
I hope it's one hell of a year. I think it's going to be one hell of a year.
I'm
this year to
convinced
watch
it's
the
gonna
title
be one
fight
hell
go to
of a
the
year.
end.
Yeah. So we come to the awkward position of predictions.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, Braden. If you're playing a sport, or as you do, you play video games on Twitch. You have a Twitch channel, correct?
I do. Twitch.tv/X410RisenerX. Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, yeah, subtle.
Subtle. Yeah, just subtle.
Just subtle.
real
Just
quick.
throwing that out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's a great channel. If you don't show up to a game, do you win it?
So typically, no. Typically, if you don't show up, you automatically lose.
Right. That's like
If you are scheduled to take part in something, and you don't show up, one would argue that you forfeit and therefore you lose.
yeah. I mean, I would imagine like if you were to show up to a game of Warzone, or you were scheduled to play Warzone and then you don't show up, you are not going to get that W.
I'm going to finish in last place. Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm here. Yeah, and
you're here.
you're here.
I'm here.
Is
Vince
Vince
is not here.
No, Vince is not here. No. If you don't show up, can you collect your winnings?
No. You know what? I think if you don't show up by default, you lose.
Yeah, no,
as
I
we've
agree with
previously established. So therefore, there has to be a different winner.
Right. And to be completely honest, listeners, I haven't even looked at our predictions. I don't know who won. I don't know
Me
who
either.
lost. But in that sense, I do know who lost because it's the person that's not here, which is Vince.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So Vince now has to do a punishment on the next show when he's when he's bothered to show up.
Yeah, when he can be bothered to show up and record this podcast with us like we're supposed to do every week. He will take the punishment. He will get iced. So yeah, I mean there's really no point in going over him since it's just a default. It's a wash basically.
We'll calculate our points.
We've got points. Vince has 0 and
Vince has 0. He's lost. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Tough look for DNF for Vince. Even though he made predictions, it's a DNF.
Yeah.
And I don't feel bad about it. Not even a little.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a small amount. Yeah. As far as I don't think there's really much more F1 news that I have. There wasn't really a whole lot this.
No,
as far as like newsy stuff. I do have a side note.
Okay.
I think that the tribute to Murray Walker on the Williams is a very classy touch.
Yes.
It was a quote from Murray when I think it was when Damon Hill won the championship. Who was it?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I think so.
And he said,
not 100% certain, but yeah, I think so.
And it was just quotations. He goes, "I have to stop talking now because I have a lump in my throat."
Yeah.
And it was a very famous Murrayism, and I thought it was a really nice touch to put that on the halo of the car. So every time you get that overhead shot, you see it.
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really classy of the team.
Class act by Williams.
Absolutely. There was that, and I had one. Oh, so I've been watching Formula 2, which has shifted there's 3 races in a weekend now for Formula 2.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't see that this morning.
Yeah, so you get 2 sprint races and then the feature race on Sunday.
Interesting.
But they also do qualifying, so there's a lot more Formula 2 running. It's
okay.
It's not even like a reverse grid race for qualifying. It's like they qualify, they do the first race, they do the second race, they do the feature race.
Huh.
Which is busy for Formula 2.
Yeah.
Considering you get points for everything.
Yeah.
But up until recently, the commentators have been Alex James and Davide Valsecchi, who has a ridiculous accent. That guy gets really excited about racing, and I did not mind Valsecchi as a commentator. I thought he I thought he brought a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
But they now this year it's Martin Brundle's son who commentates on
you know
Formula
what it is?
2.
Yeah. I did hear that.
And you know what? When Martin Brundle retires, you will not even know, because if his son goes into that role, they sound exactly the same.
Really? Wow. Okay.
It's like, it just sounds like a younger Martin Brundle. Like, I mean, the cadence and the way he talks, the expressions and everything, you listen to it and you go, it's like Martin Brundle, but 20 years ago. It's just wild. It's kind of weird. Yeah. So, watching Formula 2, it's actually, I'm going to say it's more enjoyable now because it shows, I don't know, it's just like watching F1, and he's got that really good commentary and insight.
I did read on Twitter at Slamming Gears F1 that I think, I don't know, WTF1, somebody was talking about it, that he does sound, when he gets excited, he sounds exactly like
it's uncanny,
like Martin Brundle. So
if you know anything about F1 or you've watched F1 and you see the Sky coverage and you listen to it, it's like, wow, like that. There's definitely, you don't even need a paternity test for that one. That's 100%. That's his kid, because it sounds 1,000,000% exactly the same. Which is kind of funny. So if you get a chance, watch an F2 race and listen to the commentary, and it's pretty awesome to hear. Because I don't know about you, I'm going to be really upset when Brundle finally hangs it up. Like, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon, but I think he's a great commentator. I really enjoy listening to him talk.
If and when his grid walks come back. I mean,
the grid walks.
If you've listened to the show for a while, you know I am a heavy critic of Martin Brundle's grid walks, because it was just him bumbling around like an idiot trying to find somebody who wanted to talk to him. Most of the people in the F1 paddock didn't want to talk to him, so he'd find celebrities that didn't know shit about F1,
Formula 1, yeah.
And he'd ask them questions about F1, and they'd just be like, "What?"
Like, I'm here because Lewis.
Sorry, mate.
Lewis gave me tickets.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a shit show.
No, so, I will say I do not miss the grid walks at all.
Credit where it's due. Yeah, he's a legendary voice. Just like Murray Walker, Martin Brundle will probably go down in a similar vein in F1, commentating lore here. But I don't miss the grid walks.
I don't miss the grid walks. I could tell you this, though. I could listen to him walk a driver, like commentate on a driver going through a lap endlessly. I could just watch him do that all day, because he's so good at it. He just talks about like, and then they're going through here and then brake hard, turn right. And it's like, he calls it right as he sees it. And lest we forget, when he was in Formula 1, he competed with Ayrton Senna and was he was a good driver in his own right.
He wasn't bad.
No, he was quite.
He just never had the car under him.
Yeah, I mean, he never had the car under him. And then, like, if you look at the people he was competing against, Prost, Senna, I mean, he had some pretty stiff competition when he was in the sport. So I actually, it was just kind of a side note from the weekend, something I made a mental note of. I was like, oh wow, like, it's kind of cool to see his son doing a similar thing.
Right. Well, let's look ahead to a couple weeks from now. And believe it or not, in a 23 race packed calendar, we don't have F1 for 3 weeks from now.
I know. What's up with that?
What is up with that? Who decided that this was the schedule that we were going with?
How many triple headers are there this weekend? This season. There's a decent amount.
There is. Let's see. There's one. There's.
Let's see.
2 men on the computer. Yeah. There's 2.
This is great podcasting content. This is fantastic.
There's 3. There's 4.
4 triple headers.
Yeah.
After that one season when they said they'd never do them again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I mean, the calendar still goes until December.
Yeah, it goes to the middle of December now.
That's wild. It's wild.
I mean,
wild.
I'm just saying you could have probably snuck one of those triple headers and made it a double header and put, I don't know, that race, pick and choose your favorite next week or the week following. That way we don't have the first race and then 3 weeks off.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. The next one coming up is Imola.
Imola. Yep.
The the Formula One Gran Premio del Made in Italy de Emilia Romagna 2021.
At least it's easy to say.
Yeah, at least it rolls off the tongue just smoothly.
Compare that to round 5, the Formula One Grand Prix de Monaco.
Yeah. That one's tough.
Or the Azerbaijan, or the Formula One Azerbaijan Grand Prix 2021.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Why is Italy so extra?
The Formula One Pirelli Gran Premio del Made in Italy del Emilia Romagna 2021.
And that's the other part of it is made in Italy. Does that not translate into Italian?
Why?
Like
why
why is this? I can't wait. No, but honestly, we go to Imola and then
skip a couple weeks,
and then we're in Portimao in Portugal.
Yeah.
Which I love that track.
2 new races from last year
that remain on the calendar, which
that
is
were
fantastic. And then we have Portimao, and then it's
we'll just skip over. We can probably just not watch that weekend.
And then we go to Monaco.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I find it interesting though that they in this calendar where they packaged everything that Canada is round 7, so they're in North America, and then they go back to Europe for France.
Yeah. I've never understood why it's not Canada, USA, Mexico.
I don't understand that. And like, do we really have to go to France?
I mean, we don't.
Could we not go to France?
We could just take a mulligan for that round. I
hate that track.
You know what I'm just now realizing now that I'm looking at it?
What's up?
Bahrain and Australia. No, it's not. Sorry, not Australia. Austria.
Yeah.
The tracks are basically damn near the same. Are they both Tilkodromes?
I mean, most of them aren't they?
I know Austria is. I don't know if Bahrain is. Bahrain probably is. It's probably another Tilkodrome. It looks exactly the same.
I forgot that they put the Zandvoort back on the calendar.
Yeah, they did.
Oh my god. I forgot all about this. Dude.
My home people, my ancestors.
I can't wait.
All my Van Dykes.
So I still haven't bought those tickets for the USGP, by the way.
You might want to get on that. Maybe just buy 2.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Maybe, Vince can't be bothered to show up to the podcast. Right. Maybe he can't be bothered to show up to the race. So
right.
Proven unreliable.
I mean, you could think about this as a business way, in a way that I have been unable to get a new graphics card for 6 months for my computer, because the supply and demand is just outrageous, and I'm not paying over retail price. Yeah. You could buy 3 tickets, and then when it's only limited to 25% capacity and there's no general admission, you could make your money back twofold and sell it, the week before if Vince decides that he's not coming.
This is also, I could be a scalper.
Yeah, you could be a scalper. We could sit next to a random and we could have the best time, and we could invite him to be him or her to be the third co-host on our podcast.
Wow. You make a very, very compelling argument.
I've been thinking a lot about
actually,
the whole world economy now.
If you want to join the SGSB podcast and you want to go to the USGP, to email us or tweet Braden.
Email us, send us a DM on Twitter. The best reason as to why we would take you instead of Vince, and we'll throw it out there. You got a good shot at getting a free ticket to the USGP.
and if you're entertaining and you maybe look a little bit like Paul Giamatti, people might
More
not.
Power to you.
Yeah, people might not know.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, entertaining would be a step up from Vince. Um,
100%. All right, so we're going to Imola. We're going to Italy. It was a fun race last year. It was a close race ish. I mean, it was Mercedes 1-2, but
yeah,
you don't get to people being 30 seconds back until you get to 13th with Lance Stroll, other than, today where 30 seconds back was P3.
I was actually about to be really, really, really impressed with your knowledge of Imola last year, because I don't remember a lot of that race, but
No, you can. Yeah, you can see the difference in the illumination on my face. I have Wikipedia up with the race classification.
I was gonna say you got really bright. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was Hamilton, Bottas, it was Danny Rick pulling out a third. That was his first podium because there was some shenanigans. There was only 15 people that finished the race. Danny Kvyat, the AlphaTauri, finished fourth. Leclerc fifth. Perez sixth in a racing point. So by that metric, let's see, Max Verstappen
Not classified.
DNF'd, and Albon finished last of the runners.
So it was a great race for Red Bull last year.
One can argue this is not a Red Bull track.
One could argue that Red Bull, it would be very hard for them to do worse than they did last year.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a fast track. Given what we know about the Mercedes and the Red Bull this year, how do we think that they're going to fare out? Do we think it's going to be more of the same? Do we think Mercedes has a little bit of an advantage or more equal playing field? Or do we think that Red Bull is a more well-rounded car now, and they might have this one in the bag?
Here's my thinking. I think that with Red Bull coming off of a near race win, we'll call that.
Yeah.
At a track that was definitely not a particularly good track for them.
Yeah.
I would say that it's going to be much, much, much closer. I'm gonna, full disclosure, I'm left-hand Googling right now.
Nice.
Or right-hand Googling, as it were. I'm trying to figure out what the speed traps were at Bahrain 2021. Because
it was off the top of my head, the fastest was 3:17, and that was set by Sonoda, I think, believe it or not, Latifi. It was set by lower grid cars, the speed traps in Bahrain for this year.
Okay, so let's see. Finish line speed traps. You've got Sonoda, Gasly, Ricciardo, Russell, Perez, Verstappen.
Yeah.
Hamilton and Bottas were both lower down. Not by much, but
yeah,
they were. I am going to say that Imola is, you've got that long straightaway that isn't really straight that goes by the pits.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that with the Red Bull having a really good aerodynamic package and also being very fast in a straight line, I think that Red Bull has a serious chance this year of doing way better than they did last year, as long as they can keep that fucking car together.
Yeah.
Which wasn't an issue last year, but God knows, what's actually going to happen.
Right. It wasn't an issue last year. Max ran into some shenanigans first lap. There was a I think he came together with Grosjean and he got a puncture. And that fucked him up. I think that beached him. Yeah. I think he got beached.
Yeah, I agree.
With a puncture, and he couldn't get it. He couldn't get it going again. Albon had the worst race of his fucking life. I don't remember why, but clearly it's nothing that was worth talking about.
Yeah.
But he's no longer in that seat, and a much better driver in Sergio Perez is, who finished in sixth in the Racing Point last year. So I agree. I think. I think there's a chance for some shenanigans, given it's the only the second time that they've raced there.
Yeah.
it may not be as cut and dry of a result as we might think that, oh, I don't know, maybe a fucking Spain would be, or maybe yeah.
I don't
Maybe,
want to watch
like
Spain. I'll be honest. I hate that track.
or an Abu Dhabi, where we think generally where you qualify is where you're going to finish.
Yeah.
I think there's still chance for shenanigans, being that's only the second year that they race there. But I do think that Red Bull has a better chance to do better this time around, and make it less of a shoo-in for Hamilton and Mercedes. Because I mean, Red Bull did qualify well. Max qualified, 4/10 back, which he did. He outqualified Hamilton by 4/10 this time around in Bahrain, and Albon qualified 4/10 back from that. So
Right.
the Red Bulls going off a true pace, say they're 4/10 up. It's probably going to turn out to be very equal. I think it'll be another good race for us in another 2 weeks' time.
I think we're going to be treated to a lot of really good races this season. It's going to be very, very, very close. And it was funny, like when I was watching qualifying, I had that feeling, and like Hamilton put in that lap and took provisional pole, and I like sighed. I was like, here we go again. Like,
yeah, I
here,
did too. I was like,
the
oh, well,
Swift kick in the nuts. Yep, here it is.
The bag sanding we've been missing all practice and qualifying.
And then I saw those purple sectors pop up for Max, and I was like, I was so excited.
Yeah,
I
was too.
I've not yelled at my TV in a while, and I've been yelling at my TV this weekend. Which
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't yelling in the car when things happen. So we're going a little bit long here. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, except we usually sign off with some comment about Lance Stroll, but the fuck Vince.
Yeah, fuck Vince.
Yeah, fuck that guy. He's unreliable, and
we'll do we'll do a proper race preview, whether it'll be me and John, or if it'll be me, John, and some other third guy. Who knows?
Yeah, if he's bothered to show up. Yeah.
Yeah. The week before the hold on, let me get the name right here again. The Formula One Pirelli Gran Premio del Made in Italy del Emilia Romagna 2021 in a couple of weeks' time here. So
fucking stupid.
keep your earballs and your eyeballs out for that one. Again, like I said, we'll do the social media plug. So we did revive the YouTube channel. If you prefer to watch just the best looking members of this podcast,
absolutely.
We are up in video form on YouTube at SGSB F1 Podcast. You can find us on there. Subscribe to keep up to date with all our latest video versions of the podcast. We can see our smiling faces and our facial expressions instead of us listening into your earballs and tickling at your eardrums. So Twitter is at Slamming Gears F1. If you are old school and prefer Gmail, Slamming Gears, Shifting Beers at gmail.com. I think that's it. I think I nailed all the socials there.
Yeah. Why don't you plug the Twitch? Just go for it.
Oh yeah, I'll replug the Twitch if you want to come watch me play video games. Warzone. Just downloaded GTA because it was on sale. So Grand Theft Auto. That's kind of racing. That's on brand.
Sure.
Twitch.tv /X410V Reisner X. I'm probably going to rebrand soon, make it a little bit easier, but that link will be in the description as well.
Why don't you just make it like, Vince is an unreliable cunt?
Yes. That's going to be in the running.
Twitch.tv /Vince is an idiot. Yeah, there you go.
Vince is a bitch.
That'll be very easy to remember and very memorable.
Yeah. Yes, that one's easy. All right. Well, John, this was a good one. We're 138 in here. No interruptions from Vince. It's funny. We get a little bit smoother. We keep on a similar train of thought. Keep the podcast rolling, even though we go.
I have
for
to
an
do
hour
a
38.
lot less editing now. There's a lot less, slurs and questionable remarks about people's. Right. I won't go any further with that. Yep.
Yep. All right.
Well, cool. until next time, I'm John.
The sound of silence. I'm Braden.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.